This true scary story has a massive trigger warning, and when I say massive, I mean the biggest trigger warning I have given you guys yet. This is also only for 8 years and older. If you cannot deal with DV or any type of V at all, then please scroll past this. And by the way, this is exactly why you should not play with Ouija boards. I also want to take this time to remind you to subscribe to my The link is in the bio. I tell stories on there that I do not tell on here every few days, so watch out for that. Also, if you want to send me your true scary story so I can recount it on here, my email is in my bio. It's kaisespooky@gmail.com. Okay, let's get started. So this submitter's name was Sarah, and Sarah was born in the 80s in the state of Virginia. And in the state of Virginia in the 80s, you are not allowed to go to daycare unless you were potty trained. And at the time, she was 6 weeks old, so she obviously was not potty trained yet. So her parents both worked, and so they had to find someone to take her in. Well, her mom's sister had a best friend named Gloria, and Gloria had a little daycare at her house, and she took care of kids, and she was highly recommended because she was really good to these kids. So that is where they decided to take Sarah. Now, Sarah was really well taken care of. Gloria was great to her. Every single time her parents picked her up, she was happy, healthy. She was just great. They loved her. The only weird thing that they thought about the situation is they didn't really like her husband, Tim. They said that he was a little off. He was a little quiet, quirky, but they thought that maybe he was just like quiet, just a quiet person. So they kind of ignored it. And they ended up getting really close to Gloria because Sarah's mom's sister was close to her. So those three couples started hanging out a lot. Sarah's parents, her aunt and uncle, and Gloria and Tim. So these three couples are hanging out a lot for about a month or two. And one day, Tim suggests that everybody plays with a Ouija board. And Sarah's mom at the time, who she told me had not found God yet, decided that, yeah, this would be a fun idea. Let's all do it. So they all started playing with the Ouija board. They did it about 2 or 3 times and nothing really happened until one day Gloria comes to Sarah's mom and she says to her, listen, something really weird is going on. Tim is playing with this Ouija board every single night all by himself. Like, he is sitting in our room alone playing with this Ouija board, and he's telling me that he's talking to some alien. And she says he also told me that the alien's name is Rodentalk. That is what the Ouija board has told him. And Rodentalk wants to show himself to Tim, and he wants to do it on top of a mountaintop. So they decide that they're going to go to this mountaintop so that Rodentalk can show himself to Tim, and the others want to see it as well. So they actually ask Sarah's mom if she can babysit all of the kids while they go and do this. So they go and they do this. They come back and they say nothing happened. Now, even though they didn't see anything that night, I believe that something did present itself. They just did not see it, because this is the start of a nightmare. So although nothing presented itself, Tim is still obsessed with this Ouija board, and it's all he does every single day. He just sits in his room and he plays with the Ouija board by himself. One day, Sarah's mom goes to drop her off to Gloria's house so that she can get babysat. Gloria comes to the door, she opens the door, and she does not look well. And she says to Sarah's mom, listen, I am so sorry, but you are going to have to find a different babysitter because I have to get a job. At the time, she did not have a job, so she was at the house with Tim all day. Not sure what their situation was, but she didn't have a job. She said, I need to get my kids out of here. I need to get out of here. There is something very wrong with him. All he does all day long is sits in the corner and plays with this Ouija board, and it's starting to become alarming. So I'm very sorry, but I can't watch Sarah anymore. And although Sarah's mom is upset about this because she needs to find a new babysitter, she's also really concerned for her friend Gloria because they have now become close. Now, it's important to note that Tim and Gloria had 3 kids. They had 2 biological children, one 9-year-old son and one 5-year-old daughter. They also had a 7-year-old adopted son. So remember that. After Gloria tells Sarah's mom that she can't watch her anymore, Sarah's mom reaches out to her and is like, listen, are you okay? Like, is everything okay? Tell me what happened. Like, is there anything that I can do for you? And Gloria tells her something chilling. She tells Sarah's mom that one day she comes inside and she finds Tim in the corner facing the wall, shivering, crying, snot pouring out of his nose. He is absolutely petrified and whimpering like a child. And Gloria is like, what is wrong with you? What is going on? Like, are you good? Then looks over in the corner and there's just one shirt hanging up, just one random shirt. It's a red shirt and it's hanging up in the corner. She looks at the shirt, she looks at him, and she said, what is going on? And he goes, that shirt is possessed. That shirt is evil. At this point, Gloria is like, okay, we are done with this. You are done playing with the Ouija board. You are going to the doctor. You need to be put on medication. This is absolutely insane. So she takes him to the doctor, and of course he refuses to be on medication. So fast forward later on, it's fall now, and Gloria gets a secretary job, and her secretary job is only during school hours, so while her kids are in school. And one day she is at her job, and normally she takes her lunch break at the same time every single day, but a woman had come up to her and asked her if she could switch her and she could take her lunch break 30 minutes earlier and she could take hers 30 minutes later. So Gloria agrees. But while Gloria Gloria is gone, Tim calls the office and he says, you need to get home now. I brought the kids home from school. They aren't feeling well. Get home quickly. Well, she obviously wasn't there, and this was the 80s where no cell phones existed. So she didn't get the message until she got back to the office. So she's freaking out at this point, and she's like, oh my God, like, what's wrong with my kids? And she rushes home. And this is where I'm going to give you the trigger warning again. Please do not watch this if you are sensitive, because this is gruesome. What Gloria walked into, a mother should never, no one should ever have to experience this ever. Every single person in the house had been unalived, the children and Tim. I'm going to spare you the nitty-gritty details on here. I might do it on my YouTube. It's very hard to hear. It's hard to tell, honestly, but I'll give you some of them. Basically, a shiny object was used in order to first take the life of the youngest daughter. And the same thing with the two boys. The only thing is that the hearts were out. He took a out of all of the hearts. And the shirt that he was wearing, you guessed it, was the red shirt that was hanging up. Then did something to himself that a coroner saw and actually quit after 42 years of being a coroner because of this situation. He himself 6 times in the to put it in and take it out and then do that 6 times. That's not humanly possible. This is so heart-wrenching. They actually saw Gloria about 35 years later, and like Sarah and her mom did, at a McDonald's, and as soon as they saw her, she dropped to the ground, started crying. This is 30 years later, mind you, and screamed, he took my babies! He took my babies! That just almost made me cry. They actually had to take her to the hospital. They had to call an ambulance that day, and that was 35 years later. So this poor woman, I can't even fathom. I guess that also Sarah and her mom were driving like past houses one day, and Sarah had no idea what house it was, and she looked over at a house as they were driving past, and she looks at her mom and she goes, something is radiating off that house and it is not good. Like, that house is scary. And her mom goes, that's the house. That is the house that happened in. And she had no idea. Let me know what you guys think happened in the comments. Do you think that he was just mentally ill, or do you think that like something actually possessed him, that there's something seriously wrong with him? Because I don't know. Either way, this story was the worst story I've ever heard in my entire life. So I'm sorry if this was too much for you guys. You guys can always be honest with me and let me know in the comments. It will not hurt my feelings. I want to make sure that you guys feel safe watching my stories and comfortable. And if this was just too much, please let me know, and then I won't even put it, the longer version, on my. As always, you guys are so important to me. You mean the world to me. Thank you so much. Sarah will be reading these comments, so drop any comments that you want to ask her, any questions or anything like that. She will be reading them. Other than that, I hope you guys have an incredible night. I am so sorry if this ruined your night. Normally I say have a spooky night. Tonight I'm just gonna say a prayer for this woman, because she needs all the prayer she can get, even to this day, I am sure. I will also not be promoting anything in this video because it is not appropriate. So I love you guys. I will see you in the next one.
Good morning, TikTok. I decided to wear my hair up today, so I am now a proud member of the Forehead Gang. No, that's not why I'm here. I'm here to tell you about a glitch that happened 2 months ago. And this glitch, let me tell you, had me feeling discombobulated all day long. I couldn't focus. I didn't know what I was doing. It threw me off guard. And the more I tried to find an answer to it by looking into it, the worse it got. I should have just left it be. Well, I couldn't, to be honest with you. So a bit of a backstory. I've got a friend. I've got her on my social medias. I've known her for many years, since being like a preteen. We lived around the corner from each other. We used to hang out together. We even resided together at one point. There's some portraits of me and her with my eldest daughter when she was a baby, like professional portraits. So you get the idea. We know each other like friends. So anyway, my oldest daughter was about 20. She had a son a couple of years later, so they're of a similar age. On social media, I've always liked her photos, so I've basically watched her son grow up on social media. She likes my photos, I like her photos, lovely to see. About 6 or 7 years ago, she had a daughter. I was like, oh my God, you know, congratulations. Now you've got a son, now you've got a daughter. Wow, you know, that's beautiful. Every time she posts pictures of herself, her son and her daughter, I love them. You know, that's what friends do. I love them. I like them. I appreciate her photos. They're beautiful. So told me why about 2 months ago, she posted a photo, as usual, of her son and her daughter. So at this point, her son's about 18, right? Her daughter's about 6 or 7. And then there's her. Also in that photo was a little boy. He looks about 5. So you know, it must be a family member of hers. I've read the caption and she had wrote, my 2 gorgeous sons and daughter. Something along those lines, implying that that other kid was hers. Hold on a minute. No, I know you. I know your son. I know your. I know that you have 2 kids, right? So I'm looking at this picture and I'm thinking, what does she mean? What does she mean? My 2 sons and daughter. I was so baffled, right? I thought, right, my logical side of my brain is telling me, well, maybe she had another kid and never told anyone. For one, that's just not her. For 2, it wouldn't make sense. Why would she be okay posting her son and her daughter but not her other son? For 3, I would have known about it, okay? Like, none of it made sense. My logical side of my brain was not, it was like, yeah, that just don't quite cut it for me. I had to comment on that picture. I said, oh, hey up, darling, who's the other boy? Even though she put son, I thought obviously it's not a son. She commented back, and she said his name, I don't want to say it. And I was like, oh, who's that? It's my son. I was so confused, right? I said to her, right, you've got 2 kids, right? Where is this other child from? Like, I don't get it, right? I was like, my mind is so blown right now. So I sat there and I started feeling all panicky because I felt off, something didn't seem right. Right, my logical brain came back in and it said, she's definitely had another child and not told anyone about it. For whatever reasons, there could be 1,000,001 reasons in the world. That's what's happened. That's definitely what's happened, right? Even though that did not make sense to me, my logical side of me was like, just go with it. So I decided to start flicking through all of her photos, all the many photos that I've seen and liked and loved. What I'm about to tell you, I just can't even comprehend. I started flicking through her photos, all of her photos of her and her children was her and her 3 children. And what's more, they're the photos, the ones that I have liked and loved was there also, with my already reaction on them, of her 3 kids. I'm sorry, what? As you can imagine, my brain done an absolute somersault 360 shabam bam scrambled egg. I started writing something frantically and then I was like, no, delete that. You sound like a crazy person. You sound absolutely mental. I started typing again. No, delete. I left it there and I was like, I don't get this. This girl that I have known for more than half my life, who I know of her 2 children, suddenly now has 3 children, and I've already reacted to these photos. I've never laid eyes on him before. Even when she said his name, the name is very unusual, like very unusual. I've never heard of it before. I've never heard that name before. I've never seen that child before. Yeah, it threw me off all day long. Has anything like this ever happened to anyone watching this video? Because if it has, I would love to hear your story. Because right now, I feel like wow. There's just no words. It's shocking. It's crazy. It's a crazy world that we live in. Thank you for watching. If you made it this far, I know that I can ramble on a bit. That is just me. If you don't like it, you know what to do.
I had to turn on all my lights after reading this story. If you're new here, hi. I usually talk about some pretty scary stuff, and today I'm going to be talking about a story that I've been kind of putting off making the video for. And a huge driving factor on this, and now I'm going to be fully transparent about this. I'm not a fan of making videos about demonic things or demons specifically because every single time I've made a video, whether it's my personal experience or if it's someone else's, I hear things in either the background or in the audio, and I have to reshoot it, something, every single time. I've also had instances where my dogs are growling at things that are not there, so you get the gist on why I'm a little hesitant to make videos about demonic things. But without further ado, let's get into it. The story comes from Lexi, who lives in West Virginia and lives in a very haunted house. She says that the hauntings started around the time when she was 6. Just for context purposes, she was 4 when her parents got a divorce, and her mom started seeing this man when she was around 6 years old, and shortly after, all of these hauntings started. And at first it was small occurrences, like her mom telling her to pick up her toys, so she would do so, and when they would come back, the toys would be scattered all across the floor. And she mentions during these instances, her mom and her both were afraid because they both knew that it was almost impossible for these things to be happening. But they continued to brush off these little noises, these little occurrences, because they could be coincidental. And Lexi says that this continued for 2 years before her mom's boyfriend moved in, and his parents actually lived down the street from Lexi's mom, where all of this stuff is occurring. And one night, Lexi, her mom, and her mom's boyfriend go down to his parents' house to have dinner. A couple of his cousins were over with their kids, and there was this little girl there who was like 2 years older than Lexi at the time, so little girl was 10, Lexi was 8. And when they were playing, this little girl just out of the blue says, "Did you know that there's an old woman who lives in the bedroom upstairs?" And at the time, she thought it was creepy, but she just kind of brushed it off, thinking that the little girl was just trying to scare her. A couple days later, her mom is walking up the stairs to use the bathroom, and Lexi just tells her mom, "Hey," little girl's name, said that there is a woman who lives in the bedroom upstairs. Her mom kind of turns around and is like, "Which bedroom?" So Lexi walks upstairs, gets to the door, and goes to look in and points and says, "This one." And as she does, she did in fact see a woman standing there, very pale, black hair, and a long nightgown. Lexi specifically said that it looked like it was from the early 1900s. And obviously upon seeing this, Lexi ran downstairs, and her mom was really confused until they got back to their house, and she explained the entire situation. Lexi's mom's boyfriend was overhearing this conversation and asked her to describe this woman, and when she did, he then said that they had been seeing that same woman there for years. And this is where things take a turn for the worse. Lexi says from that point on, the encounters in her house that were once very small became very amplified and very scary. And she said specifically that many nights she would feel like there was something in the room with her, even more specifically watching her sleep. But again, she brushed it off because she thought she was just scared. Until she was having a friend sleep over, and her friend woke her up in the middle of the night to specifically tell Lexi that she had seen a woman looking at her from over the footboard, just like this. And Lexi thought it was a joke until her friend described the exact same woman she had been seeing. And I guess things get even worse, because after this instance, Lexi's mom begins telling her that she has been seeing her walk around the house when she is not home. She can hear Lexi talking when she is not home. And Lexi had been seeing this woman in mirrors, like when she's brushing her teeth, for example. And on top of this, and what I think is the scariest, Lexi would hear clapping when nobody else was home, and people talking when nobody else is home. And most recently, she tells me that they have 2 dogs, and she brought one of the dogs into her room when she starts to hear the other dog whining and a woman talking to her dog. So immediately she opens the door, tells the other dog, like, "Mom's home." The dog does not get up and greet her mom like he would normally do. And when Lexi walks out to go see her mom, she finds out that her mom is not home, her car is not in the driveway, and she is still at work. So again, she goes back in her room, closes the door. Clear as day, hears a woman say, "Come here, where are you?" And she can hear the dog go from whining to barking. So immediately, she thinks that someone has broken into her house. She locks her door, gets her softball bat out, and calls her mom to come home immediately. The dog she had with her began barking, and thankfully, her mom only works like 10 minutes away, so she rushed home. But during the time of her mom coming home, Lexi began to hear heavy footsteps coming towards her door. And Lexi specifically states that the energy felt so heavy, and when whatever was outside of the door got to the door, it got eerily silent, and the keychain she has on her door began swaying back and forth. Her mom then got home, found no one in the house, and Lexi believes that the spirit attached itself to her and followed them home and has not left, because that last instance happened like 3 weeks ago. And before I get into anything else, I just have to pause and say I've had to cut a couple of things out because I was hearing banging noises on my wall. And if you don't know, now you do. I either film early in the morning or late at night. I do this because then I don't have to worry about outside noises or my neighbors being awake, etc. So I don't know, and it's furthering the I don't like making videos about demons kind of thing. What really freaked me out was the clapping and obviously the lady looking over the footboard. I don't like that. And I swear I can almost see her face when I'm talking about this. And when I read it the first time, I could see her. But anyways, that's gonna do it for me. Stay tuned for more ghost stories.